I'm going to walk you through how we use 3D print settings to print in the Edge Makerspace at the OU Basel Library. We use Cura, which is a slicing software that creates machine-readable code for our 3D printers. Cura is open source, and you can download it for your own computer and for many of the printers that you might have access to. We use the Lulzbot machines, and we have both a Taz and a Mini. When you open Cura for the first time, you're going to be asked to select your machine. I'm going to be using Lulzbot Mini, but I'm also going to show you the other machines that are built into the configuration wizard. If none of your machines are represented here, you can always customize the configuration of your print bed. So I'm going to select Lulzbot Mini. I'm also going to select Standard here. And now it says that you're ready to use Cura with your printer. Once you've finished setup, one of the first screens you might see is this practice print of an octopus. But I'm going to go ahead and remove this object from the print bed by selecting it and clicking delete. You can also clear the print bed by going to File, Clear Platform. There are a couple of ways to load your file onto the print bed. The first way is by going to File, Load Model File, navigating to your file, and opening it. The second way is by simply dragging and dropping the file into the scene. Once you have your file loaded onto the Cura platform, you navigate around the model by right-clicking, holding down, and shifting the figure around. You can also zoom in and out. And there are also options for moving, scaling, and rotating your model once you've uploaded it into Cura. You do this by selecting it, and you can see here it's not highlighted, but there's a gray shadow cast around it. The options for manipulating the file appear on the lower left-hand corner. You can rotate it. You can lay it flat if it's not resting on a flat surface. You can scale the model, and you can either do this using precise measurements or by clicking and dragging on the squares. Once you have scaled and rotated the model and positioned it correctly on the print bed, which is normally close to center unless you're printing several objects, you can then start adjusting the settings for the printer. It's for the printer and the G-code itself. So there are a couple different setting menus for preparing your print. When you're printing at the Edge or at home, you'll often want to switch between quick print and full print settings. When you're in quick print settings, you're going to want to make sure that you have the correct material selected. There are different materials included in each of these ease of use options. You're likely going to want to stick with beginner because you're probably going to be using PLA. High speed, if you're printing something simple and geometric, can save a lot of time. Normally though, you'll just want to stick with standard. We'll want to make sure that we have print support structure here too. And again, your support structure will not be available in normal view, only in layers. Right now we are in the quick print settings. There are also the full settings. The full settings allow you to control things like flow rate or how fast the filament is extruding. You can also set the bed temperature and printing temperature in this menu. At the Edge, we use specific temperature settings for our printers. The bed temperature is always set to 60 degrees, and the printing temperature is always set to around 205 degrees. We normally leave the fill density at the default 20%, but you can change that according to the simplicity or complexity of your design. Another question you need to ask yourself when you're printing models is, what kind of support are you going to need? For functional parts or certain really geometric parts, you won't need any support at all. For models like this Stitch figurine, which is more organic and has a lot of overhang or areas that don't have anything underneath them, you're going to want a lot of support. So for our Stitch figurine, we're going to opt for support everywhere. So it looks like nothing changed. You can actually get an X-ray view of your object by going to the Layers menu. So, like I said before, this guy, because of his organic shapes and lots of overhangs, is going to demand lots of support. If you want to make sure that this will actually print correctly, you can use this slider on the right-hand side to check this print layer by layer and make sure that nothing is printing into thin air. All of this blue material is support that will later have to be removed by hand with hand tools like pliers or wire cutters. Also included in the Cura software is an approximation of how long your print will take and about how much material it will take to print. So once you're happy with how your print looks and you've set all of your settings to the correct temperature and you have all of these settings correct, you will then save the G-code. Please keep in mind that once you save your G-code, you cannot go in and edit it any further. You will have to revert back to the original file type, the STL or OBJ file, to make those changes, and you will have to save another G-code. Once you've saved your G-code, you can either print from a remote printing software like Octoprint, or you can print directly from Cura by going to File, Print. This option is only available if you have your printer connected via a USB cable to your computer. Please email us or visit the Edge if you have any further questions.